I want to say welcome to Word on the Street. This morning we are spending time with children's authors, and right now we have a father-daughter team that are going to be sharing what they do with us. But before we do that, I'd like to just acknowledge the land that we're on. The Lethbridge Public Library acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, future, and present, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The city of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So thank you. I'm going to introduce our authors, Jeremy Tankard and Hermione Tankard, father and daughter team. I have a few words and then I will let them talk. Afterwards, they'll do a presentation for about half an hour, and if you have questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A, and at the end we will have time for questions and answers if there are any. It's awesome. It's always awesome to have questions, so feel free to type those in. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Tankard is the best-selling authorstrator of the Grumpy Bird picture books. Those are awesome. He always loved comics and planned to make a career of them. And then when he was about 9 years old, he discovered the joys of Shakespeare in high school when his drama teacher cast him in a production of The Tempest. He has loved all things Shakespeare ever since. His books, Yorick and Bones, see these two interests collide in the most unexpected ways. Hermione Tankard discovered her love of Shakespeare in 4th grade when she asked her father to buy her a copy of Romeo and Juliet. She read it to herself as a bedtime story for the next 2 weeks. Little did she know it would one day lead to a job writing new Shakespearean adventures with her dad. When not helping her dad with her book, Yorick and Bones, she enjoys acting and singing on stage. Welcome both Jeremy and Hermione.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Hi, Hermione.
Hi.
How are you?
Dad.
All right, so thanks for the great introduction, Jenny. So most of you would know me from, as Jenny mentioned, this book here, Grumpy Bird, which is the first in an epic series of 4 books, Boohoo Bird, and most recent one was Sleepy Bird. And so I've been making children's books for the last 13 or 14 years, I think. And my newest one I did with Hermione is Yorick and Bones, right here. And I live in Vancouver. So Hermione and I had originally hoped that we would be in Lethbridge for this event, but instead we're doing it remotely. So I'm in Vancouver, and Hermione, where are you?
I'm in Toronto.
Toronto? What are you doing in Toronto, kid?
Well, I'm in university here. I just moved back about 2 weeks ago, which is, a little scary and very exciting. Yeah.
Fun. And what are you doing in Toronto? You're in university.
Yes, I'm in university studying music. I'm studying singing.
Singing?
Yeah.
Are you going to be the next Mariah Carey?
Probably not. I highly doubt it.
So Hermione is a pretty amazing singer. She's been singing her whole life. Started singing when she was a baby, and she's never stopped. And she is hoping to be an opera singer, not a pop singer. Yeah, she's got a crazy, huge voice. She is very loud. And her dad is very, very proud of her.
Thank you.
Of course. So Hermione and I never actually planned on working together on a project. She is very creative, but not in the way that I'm creative. I like to write stories and I like to draw pictures. Drawing has always been my main interest, I guess, and it was my hobby for a very long time. So I actually want to start by sharing a couple of drawings with you here. So I'm going to screen share. How's that work? Share screen. There we go. Share. Okay. Here we go. All right. It's a little bit of a delay here. So my idea of being creative when I was a small child was writing and drawing my own books. And it was kind of funny that I liked making my own books because my parents could not get me to ever read a book. Hated reading. But I used to steal paper from my dad's desk. He had this really big desk in his home office. And I would steal paper and I would borrow his stapler and I would staple the pages together to make my very own books. So I didn't want to read books, but I was happy to write my own little books. So I'm just going to show you very quickly a few pages from a little book that I made when I was 7 years old. It's called The Book of Stories. It's a pretty silly book. But the other thing was my dad, he's a scientist, and he would often write scientific papers for publication. And he always had these red, they're not quite markers, but red pens that he used for correcting mistakes while he was writing. Because back then he didn't work on a computer, so he would do all his writing on a typewriter. And then he would go through it all with this red pen and fix mistakes. And the red pen was the coolest pen to draw with. So I steal one of his many red pens and draw my own little books. So the first story here is called Space. And it's about a little astronaut pig who's been exploring the moon with his little moon car. He's saying "wee" because I wasn't a great speller, but "wee" was a really great word to write because it's got as many E's in it as you want. And then vroom, he drives his little moon buggy into the rocket so he can go home. Vroom, vroom, say the rocket engines. And as the rocket takes off, maybe you can see the car falling out the bottom of the rocket and the pig is shouting, "Help!" because he's falling out. And then at the bottom of the page, it says the end because that story was done. Then switch over to the next page. Chapter 2 is called A Picnic, and it was not related at all to chapter 1. And it says pigs on the door of the house that the pigs live in. So we know it's another story about pigs. And one of them is saying, "Let's go for a picnic." And all the other pigs say, "Yes." So into the car they all shout, "Wee," while they drive to the beach. And the car is saying, "Vroom." And then when they're on the beach, they're hanging out under their big beach umbrella. And the little pigs have made a sandcastle way over on the left side. It's got a little Canadian flag on the top of it. And one of the pigs is saying, "Let's go on the boat." So they all get on the boat to go for a boat ride. And they all say, "Bye-bye, bye-bye," which I spelled wrong. And then up at the top, I wrote "the end," because I figured that story was done. But I crossed it out because actually the story wasn't done. It was missing something really important: pigs driving fast boats. So I drew pigs driving fast boats. When I got tired of pigs driving fast boats, then I wrote "the end." Started chapter 3 called Hot Wheels, which was a nonfiction chapter about my Hot Wheels collection. I'm actually not going to show you most of this chapter because it's kind of boring, but I like the first page here because this was my favorite Hot Wheels car. And here it is. I've still got it. It's from a TV show called The Dukes of Hazzard that I was not allowed to watch, but it was the coolest car that I owned, which is why I included it in my my book here. And much later in the book, there was a chapter that was just full of random art and drawings. So on the left side there is a picture of, I think it's Darth Vader's TIE fighter, because this first movie I ever saw in a movie theater was, I think, The Empire Strikes Back. It was one of the first two Star Wars movies anyway, and I really liked Darth Vader's ship. The opposite page there has a picture of the moon holding little signs. One says this way, one says or that. And for whatever reason, the moon is dressed up as a cowboy. And then the last page I wanted to show you, which is the most important one for today's talk, is this drawing of a skeleton and a dog. And dogs like to eat bones. And there's a little dog sniffing him and saying, woof. And the skeleton screaming, help, because he's afraid the dog is going to maybe steal his leg or eat him or something. And as an author of children's books, I'm often asked to go and visit schools and libraries to talk about my job as an author and an illustrator and try and get kids excited about reading. And I had shown this drawing of the skeleton and the dog a lot, in a lot of presentations. And for whatever reason, this one day when I was showing these slides, this one came up and I completely forgot what I was talking about, because I looked at this drawing up on the screen in front of 200 kids and suddenly realized that there was a story there that I couldn't believe I'd never seen before. And this story is about a really unlikely friendship between a guy who meets somebody who wants to steal his leg. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to write a story about a skeleton and a dog becoming unlikely best friends. And so I started writing. I'd already been working on picture books for a few years. So I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a picture book about a skeleton and his best friend, the dog, who keeps stealing his leg to chew. And started writing. I wrote a picture book, and I don't know how many of you listening are writers, but I find when I'm writing, the first time I write something, it's not very good. So I often have to write things over and over and over again. And most authors that I know write things many, many times before they're finished with it. So I wrote a lot of picture books about the skeleton and the dog, trying to get one that I liked, but I never quite found the right story. And then, excuse me, my agent in New York, Holly, suggested that instead of writing a picture book, why don't I try writing a comic book or a graphic novel? Because she knew how much I loved comic books, and she knew I was interested in creating a comic book. So that's what I did. I started doodling and rewriting, trying to come up with a longer story. And I came up with a story that I really liked about the skeleton who gets dug up and this dog who wants to eat him. But for whatever reason, I couldn't quite get the right voice for the story. It just never sounded right. And I wrote it over and over again. I spent maybe 5 years just rewriting this same book again and again and again, trying different things. And then one day, Hermione entered this story because, as I think you said in the introduction, she discovered Shakespeare when she was in, I think, grade 4. Yeah. So she got a copy of Romeo and Juliet and she started reading Shakespeare and just fell in love with it. But I'm gonna actually let Hermione take over this next part of the story, because she, as a joke, had some fun with Grumpy Bird when she was 14 years old. You wanna tell us about Grumpy Bird?
Sure. So I, as my dad said, I fell in love with Shakespeare at the age of 8 or 9 or something. And at first I was in it because I'd heard so much about the story of Romeo and Juliet, and I was really excited to learn more. But then I fell in love with the language. And when I was in high school, I got really into theater, and my theater instructor was also really into Shakespeare and taught me about how Shakespeare's language worked. So Shakespeare often wrote in something called iambic pentameter, which is this very specific rhythm pattern. And I thought that was really cool. And I wanted to try my hand at writing in iambic pentameter. And I think the first time I tried that, I rewrote a scene from another book, but then my dad thought it was funny. So I was in a waiting room one day, and I had an hour to kill. So I wrote Grumpy Bird in iambic pentameter as a 3-act Shakespearean play. It's a very short 3-act Shakespearean play. It's about 3 pages long. Each act is about a page, but it took a few days. But then I showed it to my dad, and he thought it was really funny. And then he showed it to his agent, Holly, who I don't think she really got the joke, because then she told my dad to let me rewrite the next part of Yorick and Bones, because she was like, oh, maybe it would be funny if the skeleton talked like a Shakespeare character. And so then this thing that was like kind of a joke became this whole big thing, because now it's a book. And so that was really exciting, and it was really cool to work with my dad on this project that he's been working on for so long. So I started writing a little bit of it when I was still in grade 9, and then we wrote the first book, and now it's a book.
So we actually Hermione wrote the first chapter of Yorick and Bones. It has 3 chapters. She just rewrote the first chapter, which is about a third of the book. And then we used that to put together some art samples to show what the graphic novel would look like. And then Holly took that to publishers to say, hey, I've got this kind of interesting book. Who's interested? But we unearthed the original Grumpy Bird play that Hermione wrote. So we're gonna take this opportunity to do a very first ever live stream read through of Grumpy Bird as you've never heard it before, as a 3-act Shakespearean play. So I'm gonna start a screen share here again. I'm gonna go to, where did it go? Share, there we go. Okay. That's okay, it's just there's a delay. All right, here comes Grumpy Bird. There he is. All right, so Hermione?
You have to read the stage directions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will read the stage directions. I'm gonna read all the characters except Bird, and Hermione's gonna have the fun of reading Bird. So here's Grumpy Bird, a play in 2 acts, as written by Hermione Tankard. Act 1, Scene 1. Bird is lying center stage. He awakes.
I have awoke in not a merry way, and so this day not merry shall I be. I cannot eat, I cannot play, alas, I cannot even use my wings today. Condemned to spend my day upon the ground, I angrily shall walk my dreary way. Yet here's sheep.
Enter sheep. Why, hello, Bird. How grumpy thou dost look. Pray, what's this weary business that you do?
I walk.
And yet thou hast no company. Hast ever thou considered a friend? Indeed, I would be glad to walk with you, if thou dost think thou wouldst like my presence. Scene 2. Bird and sheep walk. Enter Rabbit. Sheep. There be Rabbit. Rabbit. My greetings, Bird. Prithee, what dost thou do?
I walk, and yet no pleasure does it bring.
Rabbit. Some exercise, forsooth, is overdue. My form is not the way 'twas once beheld. I'll leave this carrot here upon the ground and walk along with you where'er you go. Here we go. Sorry, I'm not keeping up on the page turns here. Scene 3, they walk. Enter raccoon. Rabbit. Here be our dear friend Raccoon. Raccoon. Oh, bird, my friend, what dost thou over here?
I walk, thou knave, or dost thou not perceive?
Raccoon. It does seem to be a simple way to yet amuse one's mind, and even still to have a good time with one's closest friends. Be not afraid of loneliness. I come. Scene 4. They walk. Enter rabbit.
Beaver.
Or sorry, enter beaver. Raccoon. Yet there's beaver. Beaver. Oh, why, hello there, bird. Oh my, what dost thou do?
If thou art sure that thou canst not this see, a clue I now shall give unto thy mind. The deed is done by placing of thy feet one in front of other many times.
Beaver. What? Sorry. Dost thou speak of walking? Oh my, what fun. Walking is quite a great love of mine. Scene 5. They walk. Enter fox. Beaver. And yet there lies the cave of our friend Fox. Fox. Good day, bird. Oh, pray, what do you do?
I understand not why one cannot see the tiresome activity I do. Indeed, if now thine eye does not perceive, I may suggest that maybe you be blind. My mood since I awoke has been quite low. I leave it up to you to make it worse. Thy questions be so tiresome and so dull, I prithee all to leave me quite alone. All day the same, ye all have posed to me this same question every time, and now it bores me so to the extreme. Who are you, all you imbeciles I hate? Who are you that you can so irritate? I wish for all thy lives to go to waste. This one last time I'll answer thy request. I walk. Yes, this is all. In truth, I walk.
Act 2, Scene 1. And I don't have a slide for this one because Hermione added a scene here. Bird stands to the side. Others are center stage. Sheep. Please listen, all you friends of me and Bird. You've noticed surely how he does look sad and angry, grumpy even, I would say. There must be some way we can help our friend. A game, a book, a toy. What do ye think? I've no ideas. Pray, hast any plans? Raccoon. I know not any ways to cure a mood. Beaver. Nor I, although 'tis something I should learn. Fox. A book, perhaps. I've got one in my cave. Rabbit. Be quiet all. I have idea formed. A game we'll play, and this will cheer him up. We'll copy every little thing he does. No matter what, be sure, make no mistake. Scene 2.
Do ye come?
Others. Do ye come? They all walk on the spot.
Alas, my legs grow weary. Now I stop.
Alas, my legs grow weary. Now I stop. All stop. Bird, experimenting, stands on one leg. Others do the same.
They copy all I do. I ask, why?
Next slide. Bird jumps. Others jump.
I
Scene
find
3.
this, I find this rather fun, this child's game. Indeed, you all do entertain me so. In fact, I must now wonder if ye planned this folly-filled adventure all for me? When I awoke this day, it seemed so grim. But now have my emotions all gone light because of what ye all have done for me. I can be merry and my life enjoy. I do invite ye all unto my nest. A snack we soon may eat if now we fly.
Others. A snack? Oh, what fun. Oh, we shall have a feast. They fly to bird's nest.
Now may I please present all ye the snack, which we mayhap did mention time gone by. This good worm did I find upon the ground, and now its flesh we merrily may eat.
Sheep aside. But yet, a worm? Oh, woe, what hath I done? The end. So that is Grumpy Bird as a 2-act Shakespearean drama. So we had this really hilarious, I thought hilarious story, and as Hermione said, Holly really loved it. So we started working on Yorick and Bones, and we got a publishing deal with HarperCollins, which was very exciting. They're a great publisher. And then the real work began because we had to take this whole long book that I'd written, this whole graphic novel, and actually turn it into a real live book, which was way more work than I expected. And I knew comic books and graphic novels were a lot of work, but it was a lot of work. I'm not like, what was it like for you, Hermione? Was it a lot of work for you too?
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time because I didn't like write the story or anything. I was translating my dad's story into this language, I guess. But it didn't actually take super long. It took a few weeks to finish the script of the first book. And then my dad took a very long time doing the drawings because drawings take a long time.
They do. So usually like my picture books are 32 pages long, but Yorick and Bones is 130 pages long. So it's almost 100 pages longer than a picture book. So it took quite a while, many hours sitting at my desk to do these drawings. Hermione, do you remember where we did most of the writing?
In coffee shops.
In coffee shops. So there was one summer where I'd already written the story and I needed Hermione to do her work. And it was way more fun to go to the coffee shop than to sit at home with all the distractions. So I think it was almost every day we went to a coffee shop.
Yeah. It's this coffee shop that had like free sparkly water. So I would drink sparkly water and get a muffin.
Yeah. I call them my accountability muffins because if I buy the muffin, then we have to work. So we'd each have an accountability snack and maybe some tea. I like my tea. And we would sit and write for an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then when the book was done, then I could start my drawings. But for fun, we put together some slides because reading graphic novels is not the same as reading a picture book. So I've taken the first few pages of the book and created slides for them. So we're going to give you a short reading from Yorick and Bones. And let's start a screen share again. You ready to read Yorick and Bones, Hermione?
Yep.
Okay, you going to read Yorick?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Actually, Yorick is most of the text here.
Yeah, I know. There are very few non-Yorick lines.
There are very few non-Yorick lines.
The whole book is basically a monologue.
Yeah. But we are working on a second book right now. And the second book it's still, Yorick has most of the dialogue, but there are a number of other characters in the second one. Mm-hmm. All right, Yorick and Bones, Act 1, Love Bites. There's Yorick, buried underground. Along comes a hot dog vendor and a witch. The hot dog guy says, grumble, grumble, so tired. Well, these hot dogs aren't gonna sell themselves. And they're not watching where they're going because neither of them have had their coffee. And the witch says, grumble, grumble. Oof, they bonk into each other. And something falls out of the witch's bag. Smash. Grumble, grumble. Seep, seep. Zing. Okay, there you go.
Alas, once more, I would I were asleep. Whene'er my eyes doth open, it is dark. It seems eternity that I have slept. So long I nary can recall my past. Oh, did I hide in jest and not be found? Or did I lie and sleep beneath cool shade? Nay, that can't be, for now I find I am all covered o'er with heavy, damp, dark soil. Forsooth, I hear no sound around me now, although this may be as another day. Yet nay, this surely is of consequence, for no worms do my sorry ears announce. Alack, there is but one thing I desire. A friend, a one with whom I may converse, a loyal beast or man with whom to share, a one with whom on long cold nights I may find refuge in their warm, embracing arms. And yet there is another dream I wish, a luxury beyond my mind's own lens. A sausage would true, unreal wonder bring, if I could this and a companion take.
Sniff, 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 sniff.
What sound is this? A beast? I cannot know. 'Tis louder than I've heard for ages past. Could it be that my prayers now granted be? All hail, noble creature, dost thou hear? Good man, good woman, good child, or good beast, please now deliver me from earthen jail. 'Tis from this place that I now call to thee. Come by this way, O hope, and free my bones. I must now wonder who this being be, a man, a woman, or mayhap a child? I hope that they be kind, polite, and good. What words then shall I speak? Nay, be they friend? Thou art nearing nigh, I well may say. O noble youth or elder, make thee haste.
That is as many panels as we're going to read from Yorick and Bones. So let's stop the screen share here. There we go. So that's a little taster of what Yorick and Bones is like, what it's about. Trying to think if I have any questions for you, Hermione. Oh, I do have a good one. This is one of my favorite questions that kids sometimes ask me when I go to schools. What was it like opening the box with the very first copy of Yorick and Bones as an actual book when you were only 17 years old? Or were you? No, you were.
I was 18.
You were 18, yeah.
But it was very exciting. It was like, whoa, books, which was already good, but book that I helped write. It was really cool.
So was it exciting seeing your name on the cover of a book?
Yes, it was real weird, but also really exciting.
So are you really insufferable amongst your friends? Did you brag to everybody, hey, everybody, check out my new book?
No, my friend actually got mad at me the other day because my teacher in one of my classes asked, did anyone do anything exciting over the summer? And we all had to answer the question. And I said, no, I just hung out with my family. And my friend texted me privately to say, you wrote a book. What are you talking about? So, yeah.
Did you tell them?
Did I tell the class? No.
No?
Was it relevant?
Of course it's relevant. It's a major accomplishment. You're 18 and you have a real live hardcover book in stores.
Oh. I wrote down a question for you, although I think we have a question and answer period from the audience as well. But I have two questions. What's your favorite color?
Oh, green. In fact, I will show you this cover of Boohoo Bird. is actually my favorite shade of green. It's kind of limey green, but it's also kind of earthy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you could be a type of dinosaur, what type of dinosaur would you be?
That's a ridiculous question.
You thought I was joking. I said I would ask him this, and he thought I was joking.
Probably, I've always been fond of Stegosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
I like his spiny back. But I suppose Brontosaurus or Diplodocus would probably be more appropriate because I'm pretty tall. Yeah. What's your favorite dinosaur, Hermione?
I don't really know very much about dinosaurs. Probably a really loud one.
They're probably all loud.
Or those ones that can fly. The pterodactyls.
Okay.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, you could be a pterodactyl.
Thank you.
Hey, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
What it was like working with your dad on a book, but in particular, what was it like seeing your words kind of acted out by my drawings for the first time?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because when you were little, you used to often ask me things like, hey, Daddy, can you draw a fairy or a unicorn? Or can you draw, actually when Hermione was like 2 years old, she would ask for weird things like, hey, Daddy, can you draw a lawnmower? I got really good at drawing lawnmowers when Hermione was 2, because she would ask for it a lot. But this is a little different because you weren't really asking me to draw something.
No.
You kind of roughly knew what it might look like. But what was it like seeing all that text that you had helped write turned into actors on a paper stage, as it were?
It was really cool. It like completely changed the character. Like, you know, obviously I had a sense of who Yorick was when I was writing it, but then seeing Yorick be acted out like as this drawing was really, really cool. And obviously, you know, the drawings are adorable, but it brought so much. So I think my favorite part of the book is one that I actually barely remember writing. It seemed super insignificant when I was writing it. But it's, you know, when he realizes that he is a skeleton and decides that that means he's not going to have any friends. And the way that you spaced it out and the way that you kind of drew where he's like super alone in the frame, I don't know, it became very much my favorite part of the book.
Really? I didn't
know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hermione. Yeah, that was actually a scene that was really hard to draw because it's the moment where Yorick realizes that he's a monster. Making friends is going to be really hard. So, yeah, you did beautiful writing on that scene. And then for me, as the illustrator, it doesn't matter what project I'm working on, I want to do justice to the text. But this one in particular, I felt like there's a real moment here that could have a lot of emotion, and I wanted to make sure that we did that properly. And the fun thing about graphic novels is that you can do a lot of the storytelling without any words. So Hermione, you'd written this beautiful sort of scene, and the language was really great, but then there were these moments where I thought, actually, in this scene right here, we need to have no words for a moment and just let the moment sink in. And I've always said that making books with pictures, especially books for very young children, the characters that I draw on the paper are kind of like actors on a stage. They have to tell the story with their bodies and the facial expression because the kids reading the books can't read the words themselves. So they have to rely on someone else to make the words happen while they watch the actors on the page tell the story for them. Yeah. But with Yorick and Bones, it was even more felt like that because there's so many more pages and there are more drawings that I could use to tell that story. So that was really fun for me. I got one more question for you, Hermione.
Oh, I think
I've got a couple.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Coming to the end of our time. Sorry, Jeremy.
No problem.
But we'll see if we have time for this. Jeremy's Betty Jane is wondering if you sing, and Peyton is wondering, Hermione, if you might sing a little for us. But at the bottom, I've got a class. Caitlin is a teacher, and her class would like to know what inspired you to write books and what made you start to love books.
Okay, why don't I start?
Sure.
What inspired me to write books is maybe because I was a reluctant reader. I had a friend a little while ago suggest that maybe for me becoming a writer and a storyteller was natural because I needed to tell my own stories rather than read someone else's. But yeah, I just enjoy telling stories. I think I always have. My dad is a born storyteller. He likes to tell true stories about his childhood. What was the first question?
Do you sing?
Oh, do I sing?
Yes,
do not,
sing.
you do not want to hear me sing. I do not have the voice for singing.
Oh.
But I've never really tried, to be honest.
Plays the violin.
Shall we ask mine if her dad can sing?
You can sing.
I used to sing her to sleep when she was a baby.
Yeah. There. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh. And Hermione, again, for this class, what inspired you to help your dad write this book? And what made you start loving books?
Well, I've always loved books. The first books that I ever read by myself were those Rainbow Magic Fairy books because my parents didn't like them for some reason and flatly refused to read them to me. But you know, I loved them as a child. And I've just always really liked books in general. And I like writing because I don't know. I've always liked writing, and I have a lot of thoughts in my head that I'm like, wow, I should write these down, even though I usually don't. But this book particularly, my dad was so excited about it, and I know how important this book is to him. So when he asked me, it's just such an honor, I guess, to be able to work with him.
Thank you.
On it.
And are you able to sing a little for us?
Sure. I don't want to bother my roommates too much.
You can bother them for a couple of minutes.
That's all we have time for, a couple of
sure.
minutes.
What do I sing? What's a normal thing to sing?
Something you know really well.
Poor
Yeah.
wandering one.
Poor wandering one.
Poor wandering one, though thou hast surely strayed, take heart of grace, thy steps retrace, poor wandering one. Poor wandering one, if such poor love as mine can help thee find true peace of mind, why take it, it is thine, and so on.
Thanks, Hermione.
Thank you, Hermione. And that's all the time we have for both of you, Jeremy and Hermione. It was wonderful having you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I think you will both write many more books together. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great rest
Thank
of the
you.
day. Bye.
Thank you for hosting.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.